Welcome back to Anxiety Master. This is the fourth video in a short series to help you or someone you know to break the chains of addiction. So if you haven't watched the earlier videos, make sure you start with these for a solid foundation and the journey so far. In this video, we're focusing on one of the most crucial stages of addiction recovery and one that's often overlooked. That stage is when a person stops maintaining their goal of reducing or avoiding their compulsive behaviour, otherwise known as relapse. Without a plan to combat relapse, you risk the distress that accompanies the feeling of breaking the seal and having undone all of your hard work, and we don't want that to happen. I'm Dominic Decker, a teacher, a registered therapist, and your support behind Anxiety Master for a strong and confident life. If you've ever tried to quit an addictive habit, there's a good chance you failed, at least once, but more likely many times. And perhaps in the end, you just went back to it and accepted that it's just who you are and what you do. But still, it's not really what you want. Now, every journey towards addiction recovery is unique, but one thing is for certain. Relapse is, at least in the early stages of recovery, a real and looming danger. But while relapse can be a setback, it doesn't have to be the end of the road. So with the right tools and support, you can avoid or overcome relapse and continue on the path to a brighter future. If you've been following along from earlier videos, you'll have met Jay, a young man from London, and his journey out of porn addiction. So we'll cover a practical and reliable plan to make sure you don't slip backwards for if and when relapse threatens. Along the path to crushing addiction, whatever your habit, setbacks are expected because life tends to test your resolve, especially when you commit to improving. Now, life's inevitable instances of grief, shock and pain can knock us for six and send us searching for a quick way to remove or deaden the suffering and discomfort. Now, perhaps you receive some bad news, or something you were looking forward to doesn't work out. Worse, a relationship may end, or you experience the death of a loved one. Such vulnerable moments demand your clear-eyed appraisal because responding to upheaval with a return to destructive habits will only set you back further. When life sets a steep test, addiction's physical and emotional weight is the last thing you want to carry. So you must ask yourself with sincerity and clarity, how can a return to old ways possibly help me or those I love in these difficult circumstances? If you muster your strength and respond honestly, you'll know it won't help at all. So it's essential to remain resolute and determined to stay strong. And more often than not, a relapse into compulsive habits results from life's relatively less stark and often more mundane events. For instance, a moment of celebration or relief appears to call for icing with a sneaky little ritual, or your desire hides in plain sight, perhaps at the bar when everyone else is drinking, too, so it must be okay. Then, one thing leads to another. The beer needs a line, and the line leads to nicotine, and before you know it, you've launched down a slippery one-way slide to a lost weekend and a whole month's worth of regret. Such instances are to be expected. Various circumstances can pave the way to relapse, so on your journey to recovery, it pays to recognise how and when you might be exposed to these vulnerable moments. So let's look at behaviour relapse. During this stage, you're not actively thinking about using your habit of choice. You recall the last time you used and you don't want to repeat it, but your behaviours may be setting you up for a relapse down the road. Some warning signs of behaviour relapse include bottling up emotions, in other words, not expressing how you feel, or isolating yourself from others, or being pulled into others' problems. Then there's poor eating and sleeping habits, and all of these behaviours start nudging you into a more vulnerable space. Next, we have emotional relapse. Emotional relapse is a natural consequence of poor self-care for long periods, so you might start to feel restless, irritable, and discontent. And the longer this remains unaddressed, the more you contemplate returning to your habit of choice. Now, during this stage, the mind goes back and forth between using and not using. A part of you wants to use it, while the other wants to remain clean. Some symptoms of the needle moving in the direction of relapse include a craving for the desired substance or activity, thinking about people, places and things associated with prior use, minimizing the consequences and allowing a glamorized recollection of past use, or bargaining with yourself, just this once, or lying, it's not really a problem, or thinking of ways to control use, I'll stop after an hour. And looking for relapse opportunities, for example, inventing excuses to ensure you can be alone, or planning a relapse, for example, going to the pub and knowing that someone will be there with your treat. This is the devious side of addiction. It's constantly searching for any way to grab your emotional steering wheel and buckle your logical brain to the passenger seat. With addiction dictating the direction of travel, it's an arduous and seemingly impossible climb back to a state of rational control. And then we have the physical causes of relapse. So physical experiences resulting from a lack of self-care can often exacerbate stress and make your habits seem ideal as an immediate distraction and a legitimate solution. So uncomfortable physical sensations can feel disconcerting. As a result, negative habits offer the appeal to draw your attention away from physical stress. Yet, resorting to a destructive pattern will only make things worse. Instead, reflect with some simple questions about your physical experience. Now, to aid reflection, here are some useful self-assessment questions borrowed from Dr. Ellen Cora's book, The Anatomy of Anxiety. Your responses can identify some low-hanging antidotes that provide alternative, constructive remedies to physical causes of stress that may lead to relapse. So you can ask yourself, am I hungry? Okay, I need to eat something. Is sugar crashing, or am I having a chemical come down? Or have I eaten something sweet, processed or laden with food colouring or preservatives? If yes, I should have a healthier snack and focus on making different choices next time. Overcaffeinated? Perhaps the jittery anxiety is caffeine sensitivity. I'll drink less caffeine tomorrow. Undercaffeinated? I drank less caffeine today than usual. I'll dose up and aim for consistent daily caffeine consumption from now on. Am I tired? I'll take a nap and prioritise an earlier bedtime tonight. Am I dehydrated? I'll drink some water. Do I feel sluggish? I'll take a quick walk outside or listen to music and dance. Am I feeling unbalanced? Did I descend down an internet rabbit hole or social media binge? If so, I'll take some exercise or go outside with fresh air, sunshine, cold weather, a walk in the rain to reset the nervous system. Am I still drunk or hungover? I'll file this feeling and let it help to inform my future choices around alcohol. Now, this brief appraisal of your bodily sensations invites you to step aside and critically reflect upon your physical condition. Addressing physical stresses with practical questions helps you to direct your attention away from destructive responses and towards pursuing constructive solutions. Now, awareness of the triggers for relapse is important, but not always enough to stop it happening. So in the next and final video, we're going to cover what to do when relapse occurs and how Jay put all of these pieces together to finally overcome his addiction to porn. It's an important final video, so make sure you come and check it out. Okay, I'll see you there.